Haridiji. तटिल्लेखा तन्वीं तपनशशिवैश्वानरमयीं तटिल्लेखा तन्वीं तपनशशिवैश्वानरमयीं निषण्णां षण्णामप्युपरि कमलानां तव कलां निषण्णां षण्णामप्युपरि कमलानां तव कलां महापद्माटव्यां मृदितमलमायेन मनसा महापद्माटव्यां मृदितमलमायेन मनसा महान्तः पश्यन्तो दधति परमालादलहरी.
Wow, very beautiful, ma. You did a different tune today. Very nice. Sounds very nice.
Yeah, this is Hindola.
Hindola.
Hopefully, it should sound like Hindola. Kalpakaji and all, they would know. It is Hindola, but I don't know how I sounded though.
It sounded like Hindola. The Kalpaka can, of course, certify it. But
I'm only worried about Kalpaka.
So it is very nice. The important thing is your Shruti was in place. It is, you were able to hold the Shruti in place. It is very good. Nice. Tatil lekha tanvim tapana shashi vaishwanaramayim nishannam shannam api upari tava upari kamalanam tava kalam mahapadmatavyam mrudita malamayena manasa mahantah pashyantah dadati paramarvada. Excuse me. Tatil lekha. It is a streak of lightning. This reference of streak of lightning, Tatil, also appears in Narayana Suktam. Someone can remember that reference. It comes there. Narayana Suktam also. Not able to recall the line, but it comes in Narayana Suktam. And this is Tatil Lekha Tanveem. Tanvi means subtle, Saumyam. Something that is very Saumya, that is very subtle. That is called Tanvi. Tapana is Surya. Shashi is Chandra. Vaishwanara is fire. Mayim. So, this is the energy form of Devi. The energy form of Devi exists as Surya, Chandra, Agni. Correct? We've discussed these three important elements, how it plays in our physiological process, our psychological process, and our spiritual development also. It's constantly the Surya, Chandra, and the Agni. All the three. Surya and the Chandra are the Ida, the Pingala and the Ida. The Nadis. The Pingala and the Ida Nadis. And the Agni, or the fire, that is Vaishwanara here, as it rises within us, it activates different fires within us. From Kamagni to Jatharagni to Bhutagni to Chittagni, different fires within us, it activates. So fire is and desire is a fire. Desire is also a fire. Right? And fire is always something that rises above. It never goes down. Matchstick one day, even if you burn a matchstick and you try to keep it down, the flame will go up only. The flame will always go upwards, which means fire is considered as something that can help you rise up. It can help you rise up. And that is why Agni Mele Purohitam. There is a line in Rigveda, the first line, which means that Agni, who is the Purohitam, Aham Ide. I am prostrating, I worship, O Agni. You are the Purohit. Purohit means you are the one who helps me to connect the material to the subtle, the gross to the subtle. So Agni offers that possibility or channel. It is actually a channel, which is why in those days in Vedic rituals, Agni used to be extremely important. In fact, there are many Agnihotras. Even today, there are practicing Agnihotris who always will have a fire burning in their house. There's a sampradaya called Nath Sampradaya. That Nath Sampradaya, they're supposed to always, wherever they go, they first have to set up the Agni. Agni is an extremely important element in one's spiritual growth. That is why if you see Homa Kundam and all, for people who are doing Homa, that is fine. But those who are sitting there around, and if you have some inclination towards inner growth and spiritual, there's an element of spiritual understanding that is within, you are always asked to look at the Agni. Just observe the Agni. It will create different shapes. Agni has the ability to take the shape of what you are thinking also. Anal Nariya Pere on the photo Lanapo, they'll send those photos. Oh, I see Krishna in the Agni, I see Guru Ayappan, and all of those things happen, right? Agni has this ability to respond. It responds to your emotions, your thoughts, the way you connect with it. Agni has an element of consciousness within it. So Agni is extremely important. So you have Surya and Chandra, Tapana, Shashi, and then you have the Agni that rises from the Sushumna. And he's saying, Bhagavan Adi Shankara is telling, how does she rise? She rises like a lightning streak. And it's very subtle. See, lightning, it's very difficult to capture it. If you happen to see it, you see it. Right? If you happen to see it, you see it. Otherwise, it's very difficult. You won't have enough time. You see it and you call somebody, I see it. Oh, it's gone. By the time you recognize lightning has occurred, it would have occurred and gone. It's so subtle. It's so subtle in its manifestation. It is, but the inner power is phenomenal, right? It is enormous amount of energy in a very short span of time. And that is the power. And here he is talking about how the Kundalini rises. If it's to rise, it rises with that kind of an energy. Tatil Lekha Tanveem. So when you rise, O mother within me, you rise in the subtle, and also the Sushumna Nadi is also considered to be a very subtle Nadi. The Sushumna Nadi is a subtle Nadi, which means it's not accessible in that form. You can't access the Nadi. It is very subtle. And so in that Nadi, she rises when the Surya and the Chandra are balanced, the Ida and the Pingala and the Ida Nadis are balanced, and energies are not going in the Ida and the Pingala, and then they're going in the Sushumna. And when this fire for spiritual understanding, spiritual liberation, for expansion of consciousness, when that rises within us, that fire rises within us, from that she rises as this lightning streak. Nishannam Shannam Api Upari Kamalanam Tavakalam. So where does this, when this lightning rises, when the streak goes up, where does it go? It starts from the Mooladhara. Shannam, Shat Nam. So which means there are 6 layers it crosses through. 6 chakras from Mooladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipuraka, Anahata, Vishuddhi, Agnya, and then Upari, above that, the streak goes above that, and there is a lotus there, and that is where you go and reside. So this is the description of the old Kundalini Yoga, where the energy rises through the Muladhara. When your energies are balanced in the Ida and the Pingala, when it's balanced, it rises through and then goes all the way up to the Sahasrara. Shannam api upari. Upari means above. Shannam api. Nishannam, you're seated. Where are you seated? Above the 6 chakras. Kamalanam, the lotuses, in the lotus. So the Sahasrara is referred to as symbolically 1000 petal lotus, which means there is a complete expansion of consciousness that has happened here. 1000 means it will not necessarily be 1000 in number, and it will not be suddenly lotus. It will not be like somebody is carrying a lotus in their head. கவி ஒரு ஜோக் சொல்லட்டுமா? பரவாயில்லையா? ஆத்துல வந்து கவிதா ஒரு அனுமார் இருக்கார். சீதா பக்கத்துல உட்காந்துருப்பார். அப்படி இதே மேல உட்காந்துருப்பார் அனுமார். எல்லாருக்கும் வந்து she will put the பூ மாலை, மல்லிகை பூ மாலை. அனுமாருக்கு மட்டும் தலை மேல இப்படி போட்டு விட்டுருவா. It will seem as though Hanuman is carrying that like that. So Anjali and myself, why are you giving him a burden on his head? Because it's a small figure, there will not be enough space to put here. She'll just put it on the top, so it'll look funny. So this thing, when you're talking about the lotuses, it's not like suddenly there'll be lotuses that will blossom on top of one's head. The blossoming of a lotus signifies there the expansion of one's consciousness. Suddenly this dissolution of the individual identity, and one experiences complete oneness with everything, oneness with creation. So the distinction between the I and the other, all of that will dissolve. And then there Devi sits in her full glory. She sits Kamalanam Tava Kalam, your kala, your aspect, which is the 16th kala, Shodasha kala. See, there's another Sri Vidya. This in Sri Vidya, they talk about Panchadashi and Shodashi. So Panchadashi are 15 dashis, or the 15 phases of the moon, and there are 15 devis who are associated with that. 15 Nitya Kala Devis, they are called Nitya Kala Devis. And they govern various phases of the moon. And so this is another way. If you want to very simply, if there are certain days of the moon, if you think you're concerned about certain days of the moon, the Nitya Kala Devis of that particular day, we can just pray to them and they will help us, because there are governing Devis of each phase of the moon, starting from Prathamai, Ditiye, Tritiye, Chaturthi, Panchami, Sashti, Saptami, and so on. So there are 16 or 15 rather, and then the 16th one is called Mahalakshmi. But the 15 Nityakala Devis are the Devis who govern these various phases, which means the impact of the phases of the moon on us, on our body, on our mind, is also governed by them. She, Lalita Tripura Sundari, is the 16th Kala. It's something that is not visible because she is the Kala that is behind all Kalas. She is called Shodasha Kala. That is why she is called Shodashi. Lalita Tripura Sundari is called Shodashi because she is the 16th aspect which is behind all aspects. It is like saying Turiya, right? In Mandukya Upanishad, we talk about Turiya. Ganesha, we say Turiya Chaturtam Tam. Turiyam Chaturtam Tam Ganeshaya Namo Namaha. So this Turiya is the 4th element in when you break something into aspects of three, Turiya is the fourth one. Like for example, if your consciousness is waking, dreaming, deep sleep, Turiya is the fourth one, which is beyond these three. Beyond means it's not the fourth one essentially. It is in and through all of them and also beyond them. Right? The Turiya exists during the waking, Turiya exists during the dream, Turiya exists during the deep sleep, and it exists even when these three phases are not there. In the same way, the 16th kala is the kala that is behind all of the 15 kalas. And that is the symbol of Lalita Tripura Sundari. Shodasha kala. So Tava kalam, you sit in your glory in the 16th kala, which is the most subtle. See why this is where this Tanveem is appearing here, right? Tanveem is to show that you're subtle. You're so subtle, it is very difficult to approach you through normal methods, through the Pancha Pramanas. That is why in Vedanta it is said Shastra Pramanam eva. So you have to only go and take refuge in the Shastras as Pramana, because with your Pancha Pramana, the Pratyaksha Pramana that you have, you cannot, by Pramanas I mean the organs of inference or the organs of knowledge, cognition, you cannot touch that. It needs a very subtle and a refined mind to be able to perceive that. So he's saying Nishannam Shannam Api Upari Kamalanam Tava Kalam. Oh mother, when you rise, you go and sit there. Mahapadma Tavyam. It is where? It is a Mahapadma. Padma Atavyam. Atavyam means Atavi. Atavi means a forest, a dense forest. And what kind of a forest it is? Padma. Padma Atavi. So Padma Atavyam. It is a lotus forest. Mahapadmatavyam. So it is a great lotus forest, which means it is a Sahasrara. When I talk about 1,000-petal lotus, it is like full blossoming, and she is sitting there. Mrudita Mala Mayena Manasa. You now sit there and you destroy all the mala or the impurities created by Maya. All the impurities that are created by Maya gets completely vanquished. There is no more, the veil of Maya does not hold you anymore. You have crossed the Nava Avarnas. Nava Avarnan Chulwala, the 9 Avarnas or the 9 veils to get to the Bindu. So when one attains to that, there is complete absorption. Complete absorption doesn't mean that you have become lost to the world. This complete absorption means your expansion of consciousness. You have now become one with the world. There are only 2 ways of realization. One is either Shunya or Purna. You recognize that all of this is nothing, including me. There's nothing. Or you say, I am everything. The only 2 ways of establishing that truth or reality within. So she is sitting there in the Mahapadmatavi, and then from there, just because she is present there, Maya completely dissolves. The veil of Maya dissolves. The impurities in the mind goes away. The impurities that have been created by Maya, Mayena Manasa. Right? So then Mahantah Pashyantah Dadhati Paramachlada Laharim. So those sages who are able to perceive this Pashyantah, they obtain what? They obtain Parama Ahlada Laharim. Now, a subtle difference between Ananda and Ahlada. Ananda is essentially bliss, joy. Ahlada means joy that keeps coming again and again.
Like those waves.
Like the Lahari. Correct. That is why Ahlada that way is a nice word here in this context because it's a constant rejuvenating. It's also refreshing. Ahlada also means refreshing. There is a reviving or a refreshing joy that is generated within. And that joy is, it's not pongi vardhanu solvale. There's a word in Tamil to say pongi vardhu, which means it overflows. It overflows. And when something overflows, it just keeps coming. So Saundarya Lahari, Ananda Lahari, Ahlada Lahari. Ahlada Lahari is essentially that. Like when you go to the sea or the ocean and you stand at the beach, at the shore, you see how waves keep coming, never ending. Even if it's a low tide, you will have small waves coming, never ending. So like that, this joy will never end. If you are able to experience Mother within me, when I balance the Ida and the Pingala, the Shashi and the Tapana, and then I let the Agni, the Vaishwanara, rise within, she then rises as this Katil Lekha, subtle Tanveem. She rises above through the whole set of 6 chakras, goes and sits on the Sahasrara, which is a Mahapadma Atavi, which is a grand, great forest of lotuses. She resides there as the 16th Kala, as the Kala of all Kalas, the Shodasha Kala, the Kala that is behind. So when the beautiful thing here is when one realizes that this supreme entity is behind everything, then suddenly it becomes very clear that it has always been behind everything. It's like the example of the screen that I always give, right? When you're seeing a movie, you don't recognize the screen, but when you turn off everything, you go touch the screen. Now you've touched the screen, you've felt the screen. After that, the movie plays, you know the screen is always there. அடடா ஸ்கிரீன் எப்பவுமே இருந்திருக்கே அப்படின்னு ஒரு சிரிப்பு வரும். அந்த அடடாங்கிற ஒரு இன்ஃபேக்ட் விச் இஸ் வை இட்ஸ் வெரி பியூட்டிஃபுல். ஈவன் இன் Ashtavakra Gita, Janaka, when he understands it, he says aho. This term aho is a very beautiful term. Aho Purushika, one of the other shlokas.
Aho Purushika.
Aho Purushika. There is another term that comes in Saundarya Lahari. So this aho comes in Ribhu Gita. There is a Gita that is between Nidaga and his disciple. Nidaga and his guru, Ribhu. There also he says aho when he gets that understanding. So in that way, when this understanding dawns upon, it's always been there. She is the 16th Kala. She's always been there. It's not like suddenly she was not there before, she will not be there later. She's always been there. It has always been there. That supreme consciousness has always been there. When I was conscious, it is there. When I'm not conscious about it, it's still there. And Mahantav Pashyantah Dadhati Paramahlada Laharim. Always enjoy that bliss and joy of ever rejuvenating joy, ever replenishing. Right? It is like a Kalpataru or the Kamadhenu. So it is constantly giving without end, keeps giving. Gives what? This joy. So the Pashyan, the Mahantaha, the sages, the great ones who have seen Devi in this form within them, they'll experience this joy again and again and again and again. So which is why for them nothing else matters in the outside world. They're so joyful inside, they're so blissed out, they're so joyful and so intoxicated inside, nothing on the outside will matter to them. Okay? So that is this beautiful shloka. We'll go on to the next one. I'll pause the recording here.